spent fixed on the slide in my hands could be piled up and all thrown away. My blue eyes gray as I graze through the days, unaware of the gazes I've missed. I'll face it down on the ground and follow you out there, so I can take another moment with you, so I can take another moment with you. It took for the ape to stand up, and I'm bringing him back to lunch, twiddling my thumbs on the glass as you pass out of this room in disgust. I'll face it down on the ground and follow you out there, so I can take another moment with you. I can take another moment with you. Sometimes they get the best of me. These gray masses.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Of clouds that are marching across.
So I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna switch from a spiral style of mug to a slightly larger mug that's a little bit different design. So when I'm making a larger pot, I start right here, this kind of doorknob looking shape. This section right here needs to be a little bit bigger, and if it's bigger, then the mug will be bigger. And if I make all these the same shape, then the mugs will be the same shape.
With the same view and ask with a smile.
When did I learn to do this? Well, it's not something that you just learn once. You can spend your whole life learning to do something like this. But I started in high school and then in college.
The way they stumble through the light and fall apart.
All my friends are dead. I talk to them through Ouija board. All the voices in my head cover up the words in your mouth. I'll wash one of the eggs from my velvet coffin. Whisper to you from across the room. Let you know I'm thinking of you, but you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Oh, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. My pants in second grade. No one cares about your battles. G.I. Joe versus Lincoln Logs. The principal always trying to use psychology on me. I'll watch Planet of the Apes from my velvet coffin. Whisper to you from across the room. Let you know I'm thinking of you.
So this will be a mug.
You don't know.
And those little textures inside where I pressed in with my finger, that will actually change the shape of the liquid. And it'll hopefully be about 20 ounces.
Talking about all my friends are dead. I talk to them through Ouija board. All the voices in my head cover up the words in your mind.
like a Jackson Polly. Trying to make a masterpiece out of a mess. Watching the bright colors as they frolic. Halloween or summer dress. Oh no, do you think that it's alright? Oh no, do you think that it's alright? If I walk her home tonight. Pigments twisting the world around. She's walking barefoot on the tracks, shooting stardust to the ground. As she lets go of the past. Oh no, do you think that it's alright? Oh no, do you think that it's alright? If I walk her home tonight. She sees the world like a Jackson Polly. She sees the world like a Jackson Polly. She sees the world like a Jackson Polly.
bowl.
My whole life is bothered by a question of holding on and letting go. There are images which swim in my reflections that I cannot be certain to always know. So I'll make my quick decisions, or I'll formulate some plan, 'cause you can't hold on to everyone when you only got two hands. There are people, there are places which I may have to lose. I'll accept the fact that they are gone and that I had to choose. That I had to choose. She gave religion to my childhood. He gave me stories in my youth. Both gave me candles to hold on to, flames to guide me through a flickering truth. But as the years grew faster and I stepped into the dark, their lights could not sustain me when this doubt enclosed my heart. But there's a warmth I still remember when I think of what it cost. I can always hope some beauty will come out of a loss. Will come out of a loss. There's a certain woman on my mind who I met in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was doomed to leave her without warning, while she and her beauty must wait behind. So I met her in the middle, with her bare feet on the grass, and the cold wind howled around her, and it swelled into our past. And she screamed, boy, do you realize what you're doing isn't fair? You built up my expectations and now release them to the air. I said my arms will be on their gloves, and your arms will be my bell. Let go when they fall off, but hold on to what we felt. Hold on to what we felt. Write these thoughts down on paper before I get lost in a dream where I can't get caught. Red-handed, I knew I forgot. I always forget I'm still here, but I'm feeling heavy now. My eyes are closed. I'm almost ready to transpose the things I forget. The things I forgot, the things I forget. Well, now I'm locked up tight in the covers, and my thoughts are flight to a world of others, and everything's gone, everything's gone, everything's gone, everything's gone. Stars hit my hand just before bed. Time collapses in. There are just things no one remembers. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Stars in my head. just before bed, time collapses in. There are just things no one remembers. La, la, conversation, just the way things work, the way they be. Between sips, till your lips grace the microphone. I was fit to begin, I was broke like half of my body was a ball and chain. Those days when the tone of the rise. Still fools despite our best intentions. Brace for some life we never meant to again. Resignation, it's overgrown. All we will see is love lost to a comfort you never knew. I was fit to begin, I was bleeding like half of my body was an open vein. Those days we let the tone deliver. Still fools despite our best intentions. Brace for some life we never meant it again. Cold of your words, just as cold as the wind on the skin. As the sounds they echoed in the dark, hearts beat too hard to carry on. Your outstretched arm betray your eyes, the freedom that you promised. To laugh, to liberate, and drown in me, fall, we were suffocated again.
That song was called The Well of Loneliness.
Thing about your love is it only came around when I just about given up. When you turned to leave, all I could sense the pride that you took in my jealousy. 'Cause you were present in my mind like the shadow of a memory. Battery. And I thought that we'd go together like green and green. That was just a little naive of me. together like green rain. Time is an unfeeling machine.
How's everybody doing out there? So I think the comments have been frozen on Facebook for a while. I'm streaming on YouTube right now too. But I think I'm gonna pause the video and then start it up again. Because I like to see what you guys are reading so I can answer questions if there's any questions about the pottery. So, be right back on Facebook. Hang tight. So there's people watching on YouTube too. Any questions about the pottery process? Got some more clay I'm going to go through. I'm going to restart it on Facebook here because technical difficulties.
Stretching icicles.
Take a little water break too. How's everybody doing tonight?
And held one black wing out for flight.
About 30 seconds.
Empty feeder. Still upon the frozen.
Try not to get clay all over my phone.
But if we could break the ground.
This song is called "Break the Ground" by Paul Spring. Let's try it again.
Something. Something's off about today.
Electronics in the pottery studio don't always go super well together. Just gotta keep clean hands.
It started with our argument, and I feel more to blame.
All right, we're back. We're streaming on YouTube and on Facebook right now. And I'm making coffee mugs tonight. Got a few more to get through. I'd say like somewhere around 15 mugs probably. 10 to 15, they're gonna start to get a little bit bigger. There we go. The comments are all frozen on Facebook, but they seem to be working again. Looks good. You can also just hop over to YouTube if you're having problems and ask questions there. But there tends to be a lot more people watching on Facebook, so I wanted to make sure the comments are streaming in case you have any pottery questions. They froze up for like, I don't know how long, 20 minutes at least. Any questions about pottery? Do you want to learn about pottery? I'm not really a pottery teacher, but I do this full time, so I kind of know enough about the whole process to make a pot. Why I cut the top off which one? Not sure what you mean by that. Cut the top off. There was one that had an air bubble, so I cut the top off. Any snow here yet? No. There's been little flurries here and there. Coating the clay up and down like this helps to compress the clay to reduce cracking. I'm gonna make some bigger mugs now. Her paper making's going well. She's making paper the past 2 days. I like stoneware clay. This is a stoneware clay with some sand in it. It has a little bit of sand. Tonight I'm making 16-ounce coffee mugs and 20-ounce coffee mugs. 2 different sizes.
If we could break the ground.
Newbie starting out on a manual wheel or electric wheel. I've seen them start with both. I started on electric wheels, but I've seen some people start with this type of Karatsu style kick wheel as a newbie, having never touched clay before. So it kind of depends what you want to do. I'd recommend an electric wheel because that's what I did, and that's what they're a lot easier to use. Have you ever made an abstract mug for the heck of it? Google search my last name, Cherrico, and meteorite mugs. When's the next giveaway? We'll do one in December. I just haven't decided what it is yet. We try to do one every month. Meteorite mugs. Those are kind of abstract. They're pretty funky. But most of the abstract art I make is non-functional because you can get even crazier. You don't have to be constrained by the... there's a lot of constraints to function, to get something to still function well. And when I make abstract art, I like to remove all the constraints.
I will sail into a stormy sea, though the wind blows off track. Tsunami waves may capsize me, but I'll never turn back. I chose my fate, and I won't give up until you're in my arms. You are imprisoned by gray clouds, so I'll just wait out the storm. And like the stars cradle the moon, I'll hold you in my arms soon.
What band is this? This is Paul Spring. So, someone asked if I ever make abstract mugs just for fun. I don't do many mugs like that because, like, this needs a handle. So wherever the handle goes needs to fit with the shape. Those indents there, I'm not going to put a handle right in there because it's not going to attach as well. It's going to be kind of cumbersome. So I don't make very many abstract mugs. They're very clean and
I'll use my thimble
maybe not clean, but intentional and designed. Any other pottery questions?
You won't have to dread.
If that shrinks and I made it the right size, it will be hopefully about 20 ounces when it's done. I also don't do much raku firing because it's mostly for non-functional pottery. Raku is not sealed, it's not vitrified.
I'll try and save you from the tempest.
So I would never make a coffee mug that's raku.
You'll have to believe.
It always depends on the size of the pots, but for coffee mugs, usually about 20 different mugs from one mound of 25 pounds of clay.
Like the stars, cradle
I have some blank canvases for Jupiter mugs,
I'll hold you in my
and I haven't glazed them yet.
arms soon.
So I've got two Jupiter mugs left. The last one I gave to Neil deGrasse Tyson when I was out in New York City. I was about, I think I was 17 when I first started on the pottery wheel. Yeah, they're microwavable. A small percentage are not microwavable because I use metal colorant, so it'd be like putting a metal fork in the microwave. But I get a lot more interesting colors that way, so it's worth it to me. So I'd say somewhere between 98 and 99% are microwavable. Some are not, but they're all 100% food safe. Same goes for dishwashers. I've seen them change color in the dishwasher because super harsh dishwasher chemicals that are, they'll basically like bleach the glaze. So they're still safe, but they're gonna change the glaze. So I just recommend hand washing them because these are generally more valuable coffee mugs than something you get at Target or a big box store. So I don't recommend dishwashers or microwaves. I mean, you can. I've microwaved countless mugs countless times, but I've also run into problems doing it before. So it totally depends on the style, exactly. The main reason is I don't recommend microwaves and dishwashers is because then people treat them like normal mugs. And if they treat them like normal mugs, eventually they might bang it against something or be careless or drop it, and there's no way to repair it. And like I said, they're more valuable than most mugs, so if you're careful with it, it could last a lifetime. It could last many lifetimes. But if you drop it, it's going to break immediately. So I always recommend hand washing the pottery, because people are more careful when they hand wash, and you tend to see a lot more of the colors and textures and quality of the mug when you're actually hand washing it and paying attention. Any other pottery questions? Don't microwave your art, folks. Like I said, you can, and we sell them with a brochure that has directions on how to test whether or not they're microwavable. But yeah, it's better to think of it more as art than a coffee mug. I just hate getting emails from people that say, I broke my mug, what do I do? There's nothing you can do. If you drop, I've broken pottery that I've bought. Everything that we eat and drink off of was made by other potters. So I feel your pain when you break something. The best way to avoid that is just to be careful and to think of it as art. How do they keep the shape once you set them aside? That's a tough question to answer. Not exactly sure how to answer that. They just do. Good, buy another. Yeah, but I don't want people to buy another because of that reason. That's not the best reason to have to buy another mug. Because if someone didn't break that mug, they could have passed it on to their kids or grandkids or great-grandkids. Like 1,000 years from now, that mug is going to look exactly the same. They don't deteriorate. You can go to a museum and see a pot that's 5,000 years old. lot of the cosmos in my art. What got me interested? Probably watching way too many YouTube videos of Neil deGrasse Tyson. And then colors like this. Like this is a real image from the Hubble Space Telescope. It looks kind of like a painting. So I looked at a lot of images from NASA's Hubble telescope, and that was really inspiring. So I tried to duplicate those images. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Did I teach myself or take classes? There's no either or. It's more complicated than that. I took a lot of classes. I spent a lot of time teaching myself.
You struck me down, oh Pharisee. Between the stirrup and the
Any other pottery questions? Earthenware clays are a little darker. Do I make any water tumblers? This is the closest thing to it. I make some taller ones that I think there's 2 taller ones right now, but yeah, I call that one a water tumbler. Good for wine. Do I mix my own or buy pre-mixed? I buy clay pre-mixed, and I mix my own glazes.
But light fills the void in the darkness.
A lot of potters do mix their own clay, though, and get really into clay experimentation. And I did in college. I mixed up purple earthenware, white stonewares. I dug clay out of nature, brought it to the studio, and made pots out of it. But since making a living this way, I found that it's a lot better to focus on glazes and treat the clay like a canvas for a painting that you can drink from. That's kind of how I think of it. So I simplified the canvas by buying pre-mixed clay. What's the biggest size that I make for mugs? Usually around this size, about 20 ounces. This is probably much bigger. It's going to shrink a bit and should hold about 20 ounces when it shrinks. I have seen the moon mugs get to like 30 ounces occasionally, but that's usually not on purpose. Any other pottery questions? A class in high school may be interested in getting into all this, and then going to this college in Minnesota that has an amazing pottery program. Do I ever throw with a sponge? I don't. Some potters throw with a sponge in their hand. I try to limit the tools that I use and try to, even when I decorate, you'll see I really only use my fingers if I can to decorate. Do I score the clay to attach handles? I do. You can see videos of me doing that. Maybe tomorrow night I'll be doing that. I score the clay with a little bit of water. In a single day, it depends how many pieces, it depends what kind of pieces. You know, the moon mugs take about 10 times as long to create. So I did one part of the moon mug process earlier today for a few hours. I got 9 of them finished. Any other potters out there? Do I prefer to throw wet or a little more dry? A little more wet, because then the clay's a little softer and moves a little more easily.
between the stirrup and the ground.
The song is called Saul, and it's about a Bible story by a guy named Paul Spring. What's the most difficult piece I've made? The most difficult piece of pottery I've made so far is probably the Jupiter mug. There are these 3 sculptures that took a little more time that I'm going to show again at the American Craft Council. I'm going to make a couple more sculptures to show with them. I do the American Craft Council show every year in April. So those 3 sculptures definitely took longer, but the Jupiter mug has been one of the hardest to figure out so far. That and the Neptune mugs. Partly, it's probably just because I'm putting the pressure on myself because I want to make a lot of them. I want to make more than just 1 or 2. But they take so long, I kind of put a pause in them for a little while. So I'd say either the Jupiter mug or there are these sculptures that look kind of like floating abstract moons, but have a lot of, they're like asteroids, and they're made with 24 karat gold that I applied after the firing. See, I don't use many tools. I try to use only my fingers for different types of decoration if I can. Let's look at a handle. Have you ever thought about bringing an apprentice in? You know, somebody sent us a really long email yesterday about wanting to come work here, but it was not to make pottery. So I don't know. It depends if there's that kind of enthusiasm. Taking on an apprentice is it's not easy for the apprentice or the teacher, and so I don't think I'm qualified to take on an apprentice right now. But I'm kind of past that phase where I might do an apprenticeship with someone else. Do I live stream anything besides mugs and bowls? Yesterday I was glazing, but I guess that was still mugs. I guess it depends. I have live streamed plenty of sculpture making before, and I'm gonna make a few more sculptures. It's the Christmas season right now, so I'm focusing on useful pottery that that might serve our fans for Christmas gifts. And so when the American Craft Council show gets closer, that's in April, I plan on making some more sculptures for that, and maybe another jar. So yeah, I'll live stream making that to mix it up a little bit. But my job is to be a production potter. No one's buying sculpture right now. And I get it. It's non-functional. It's really expensive. So when you make a living as a potter, you need to spend time serving your customers and making useful things for them in their home. And that's my job, is to serve customers. And the best way to serve them right now for what I make is mugs and bowls. These mugs are actually for the Local Blend coffee shop. They'll be 20-ounce mugs for the Local Blend. My hands don't get really dry from the clay, but I think they're kind of used to it. They used to get more dry. The American Craft Council's in St. Paul, Minnesota. I think they're in Minneapolis, but the show is in St. Paul in April. I live about an hour north of there. But they do 4 shows all over the country every year. How many restaurants use my pottery? Just one, just the Local Blends. Everything else gets shipped to people's doorsteps directly from our little pottery office. Merry Christmas. It's not even December yet. I'll log back on around Christmas and wish you guys a Merry Christmas. I use tableware from Continental Clay. And I'm thinking about checking out their buff stoneware. Anyone ever use their buff stoneware from Continental Clay? I'm thinking about checking that out. It's a clay that doesn't have any grit. And I have a hunch that it might affect our softening process and streamline it a little bit. Because when you're production pottery, you have to think about streamlining things sometimes. Sunshine. Occasionally you'll see me cut twice like that, and I use that clay to help finish off the bottom later on, to help prevent a type of cracking called S-cracks. Restaurants should totally use my pottery. It's a lot of work to make pottery for a restaurant. Any other pottery questions? No ghosting allowed. You can also hop on YouTube if you have a question. I'm kind of streaming on 2 cameras right now. Is it kind of weird? That's YouTube, that's Facebook. Beginners around the St. Cloud area. So I live in the St. Cloud area. In Minnesota. Annemeyer.com. ANNEMEYER.com. Is all pottery food safe, or does it require a certain glaze? If you're buying from a professional potter, it would be really irresponsible for that professional potter to make pottery that they claim is food safe and is not. And I've never met a potter who made that claim and actually had a sustainable career. There's just too many things that are obviously not food safe. And a professional potter, I've never met one that has ever done that. Can I explain the softening process? I'll do that in a minute. But I've said this before, raku pottery is really colorful and interesting. Like, you can get colors kind of like my shirt, where it's really metallic and vibrant, but it absorbs liquid, because it's absorbing those colors in a certain way. So if you ever saw, you'd never see a potter make a raku coffee mug. That would be irresponsible. Because it's gonna absorb the coffee. Coffee's gonna stay in the walls of the pot even after you wash it, because it's 10 or 20% absorbent. And then it's gonna grow into bacteria. I don't think it's illegal, but it might be. And it's definitely irresponsible. So what you want to do is you want to ask the potter you're buying from, but most likely they're not going to make a cup that's raku. They're going to make a closed form or a vase or a sculpture if they're doing something like raku. When my pottery went into the local restaurant, the health inspector had to test it, and he did 3 things. First, he asked me for my glaze recipes, so I gave it to him because I mix my own glazes. So I gave that, and he put it in a folder. And then he took out a test, broke it open, and tested 3 different glazes of mine. It was a lead test. And then he took some sandpaper, scraped away, and tested again for lead. And he said that all he's worried about is lead and cadmium. That's what he has to test for. And lead, I know, is illegal for potters to buy and sell. I think cadmium probably is too. So to see the softening process for my pottery, you can actually, I created these things called short links on our website, cherricopottery.com/softening. It takes you to a video of me doing the softening process. But essentially, once the pots are bone dry, I don't have any extra bone dry pottery here, but when this pot is completely dry, all the water evaporates, then we have to pick it up and find any crusty spot and kind of knock it off with, with a blunt wood tool, kind of scrape all the crusty spots off, because after it's glazed fire, those will be really sharp and unpleasant. So we spend a few hours softening the pottery before it goes into the kiln to be fired. because there's a surprising amount of rough spots on every single pot. Do I ever use an electric wheel? Not anymore. I'm not sure if there's a benefit to the kick wheel versus electric wheel. In a lot of ways, they're actually a lot harder to use. Most potters don't use them. I just like them more. What's new? New pots. Always new pots. I have a lot of mentors. You know, I've spent... If I totaled it up once, and I'm pretty sure I've spent over 10,000 hours sitting at a pottery wheel. And I think with all the parts of the pottery process, glazing, critique, studying pottery, it's more like 20,000 hours or more. But I've been making a living as a potter for only about 8 years. So I think I'm still like working towards that 10,000 hours of the business of pottery. So lately, these past few years, my fiance, she actually gives me a lot of crap because I don't read much fiction. I read a lot of business books. Almost to the point where it's like, okay, I need to tone it down and pick up some fiction or read Lord of the Rings or something because I love the movies. But I feel like I'm working towards my 10,000 hours of business. And there's this really cool quote from one of my mentors. His name is Ryan Holiday. And he's an author. He's written some books, some about business, some about philosophy. And he said, a mentor can be anyone, and you don't actually have to meet that person. Anyone who helps you can be your mentor. And if you want to deepen that relationship, you can. You don't necessarily have to meet them. I've never met Ryan Holiday, but I did reach out to him and thank him for that. And he owns some pottery, and I talked to him on the phone once. And so I definitely consider him one of my mentors. You know, he's way more successful than me. He's both professionally and in a lot of ways personally. There's a lot of things I look up to in the way he's crafted his life to be an author full time. And I want to sustain being a potter full time. So I consider him a mentor. As for pottery, Sam Johnson is his website, I think, is samuel-johnson.com, and he's the potter who was my college professor who taught me in that first 10,000 hours of being a potter. I know it's not the exact quote, but it's pretty close to that. Who's another mentor? Richard Bresnahan. We just put him in our educational brochure pack that we send out to patrons. We quoted Richard when he was talking about the commonalities and the importance of making pots that are kind of a dance with the fire and the clay and the community, the people who use them. About the planets and solar system, what is it about the planets and solar system that inspire me? You know, it's funny. Yesterday, NASA landed a rover on Mars. Anybody hear about that? They sent this rover to Mars a while back, and it landed successfully, and it took some pictures, and that's awesome. I mean, we donate every single year. It's coming up, our donations, and then we're sustaining to a couple nonprofits. Just we take the pottery profit and give it back a little bit. And one of the organizations we donate to is the Planetary Society. Bill Nye, the science guy, he's the CEO. He directs the Planetary Society. And so I'm always like interested in exploration. I think there's a lot of links between scientific and outer space exploration and exploring new types of art. I think it was Mae Jemison, who was an astronaut, who said, art and science are two sides of the same coin. Or maybe she was quoting Albert Einstein or something. But anyways, I saw the pictures yesterday that this rover was taking from Mars, and that's pretty cool. I mean, that's awesome to be able to do that, to get a rover there. But it didn't really have that wow factor to me, at least not in the pictures. Like, the Curiosity rover is already there and taking better pictures. And so, I mean, I just want them to shoot bigger. I like outer space ideas because they're so big. Like, there are there's an ocean of methane gas on planet Titan, floating around Jupiter. Is it Jupiter or Saturn? I think it's Jupiter. So that's just a refueling port. Send a spaceship out there, suck up some of that methane, and go to other places. What's swimming around in that methane gas? It could be a blue whale that doesn't have DNA, that made a whale of different DNA that can actually breathe methane, just like fish breathe water. Or something like that. So I like that there's like big ridiculous ideas in outer space, and it reminds me of big ridiculous artistic ideas. That and the colors, like the colors from the Hubble Space Telescope, or when the images of Pluto came out, that was pretty cool. Some of my mugs, I don't have any hearts on the mugs. There's this big heart spot on Pluto, which is pretty cool. I'll take colors and textures like that and put them onto mugs. So usually it's the colors of outer space or the textures of planets, and big ridiculous ideas, I guess. Yeah, so I heard that robot is drilling for core samples. There's another moon, Europa, and it has ice and an ocean underneath the ice. So I'm waiting for NASA to go there, go to Europa, and drill in that ice and see what comes up and licks the lens. Like, what is swimming in that ocean that's maybe been there for 1 billion years? By the way, I'm just spouting off things that I heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say. So I'm not sure if I consider him a mentor, because we're in completely different fields, but he's definitely inspired a lot of what I've done. Ideas, just big crazy ideas about what outer space can teach us about our place in the cosmos. And I always stayed inspired by nature when I was learning to talk about pottery and learning, my own identity as a potter and why I make certain pots. Because clay is from the ground and it's just so elemental. It's clay, water, fire. So inspired by nature, I heard a lot of other potters say that, and I always said that. Spirals are so natural, and you see the spirals just happen so organically on the pottery wheel. Well, things that are 1 billion miles away are still part of nature. So it was pushing that idea as far as I could. Inspired by nature still includes Jupiter and Neptune. Any other pottery questions? Do I pull or extrude my handles? There's a couple other ways besides just pulling or extruding. You could cut your handles out. You could roll them as coils. But I pull mine. What began my pottery journey? A high school class. But if you want to dive deeper, the best way to find that is to search on the American Craft Council website, craftcouncil.org. Search my last name. I wrote 8 blog posts for them called A Potter's Journey, and gave details about how I crafted this to become a potter and sustain it. Sustain a career this way and kind of formulate it. From day 1 in college to 4 years after college, making a living this way. So I wrote all about it in A Potter's Journey. It's like an 8-part blog post series. think I've got about 2 pots left. Any other pottery questions out there? I'm actually kicking counterclockwise right now, but it's mirrored. Wait for our email newsletter. We're planning a sale real soon. The kiln is cooling right now, I'll just tell you that. Does spinning manually versus electrically give me more control? I think it does. I think it gives me a lot more control, but it's a lot harder to learn this way. It's a lot harder to find these wheels. But I love the amount of control that I get on these wheels. It takes practice to work without looking, and I have to look more in certain parts, like the decoration and the measurement. But it is, it's muscle memory.
So what are you looking for?
Do I have a Facebook page yet? What do you mean by that? We're on Facebook page. The playlist is posted in the title of every video. This song is by Paul Spring. Sienna has tried throwing a little bit of pottery. She's tried on the Bernard Leach style wheel. I think she tried in some classes before that. But she's actually a little more focused on glazing right now and her own paper making.
Did she really mean what she said? How did he die in that bed? Why did those towers fall?
Yeah, Paul Spring's out in New York City right now. He and his fiance actually are out there, and he's recording at a studio in Queens, New York. I'm gonna visit him pretty soon. I'm going out to the Star Talk Radio Christmas party that they do for their patrons. Since we support them, our Patreon, actually our fans are kind of sending us out to go hang out with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and I'm gonna take an extra day to go visit Paul Spring and to see how he's making a living making music in New York City. It's pretty inspiring. There's a new album called Sleeper that he just recorded from out there. It's all instrumental. And I've been playing it in these videos. Sounds a lot like this song, actually.
How about we just go walk a while? 'Cause I know this piece of land,
It's better.
and I can show it to you if you'll understand. But the more time on that machine, the more you rewind and pause those scenes. You're just long for running streams.
taller mug. A tall, narrow mug. Do I have a list of pottery books I recommend? Yeah, I list both pottery and business books in our the educational brochure pack we send to patrons. I don't remember exactly which ones I recommend there. I'm sure I recommend A Potter's Book by Bernard Leach and Body of Clay, Soul of Fire by Richard Bresnahan. And we send that out to people who join Patreon. I've been thinking about asking more people to join because honestly, these videos would be a lot crazier if we had more patrons. I would do a lot more sculpture. But we need to hit our goal in order to do that, and we're pretty far from it. So, for now it's just a great way to give people preference on pottery. But eventually I'd like it to provide the videos with more freedom to spend a whole month working only on sculpture. So if you want to see that, join Patreon, where I could let people request things like, what does a teapot look like? What would a moon teapot look like? But to make riskier art like that, when you're a full-time artist, you've got to have a way to pay your rent. How do you join Patreon? You click on the link in the title of every video. Ooh, this wire's going out. These days are numbered. Come on, Mud Tools, get it together. This is a Mud Tools wire. It's a heavy-duty wire, and they always break right there, which tells me design flaw. Mud Tools, you gotta get your stuff together. I used to use their smaller wires, and I kept breaking them, so I used their heavy-duty ones. I'm still breaking them, but I'm sure that wire's been through thousands of pots. But still, come on. All done. I'll be making more mountain mugs soon. I'm sure I will. Probably not until January or February though. It's gonna be a lunar Christmas. Any other questions? I'm all out of clay. Thanks for watching. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 33 pots tonight. Alright, well, until next time.